In the early days, the crux of it was to get a coalition that was credible to politicians. We needed a wide representation. We needed as many different bodies and groups we could possibly get involved. And we also needed to show a popular support. So it was really important that we got organisations with large memberships.
Trade unions, environment groups, faith organisations and a range of community organisations. Together they managed to find common ground, and that common ground won political and public support.
It's easier to agree on the bigger picture stuff. So 42% targets, they're challenging, but once you accept the issue of climate change, the need to do something about it is quite obvious and quite imperative. So it was actually quite easy to galvanise concern around that and demand genuine action.
It's a huge issue that encompassed a wide range of organisations' agendas, and that a lot of organisations had concerns about the impacts of climate change.
One of the main areas where we started to build much more evident public support was once the Catholic Church, the Church of Scotland and the Islamic Church all came on board as supporters of the initiative.
I remember being at our Scottish Parliament along with the Imam, the moderator of the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland and myself, and we were just advertising, "Stop Climate Chaos." The three of us, with our banners and so on, attracted a great deal of publicity. And the fact that these three major leaders were together on this issue gave a tremendous example to our own people in Scotland. We have a right to say to our political leaders, this is a basic wrong affecting so many people in the world of today, and you have an obligation to do something about it.
So this was a large alliance of groups representing a very wide coalition in Scottish society, saying to politicians, we're here watching you, we're here to help you, but we want you to do the right thing on delivering the strongest possible climate act for Scotland.
We played a role in terms of clarifying the agenda, so we had a really clear set of aims that we were asking for, and that was very important. The politicians knew what was expected of them.
So we did, of course, basic things like creating briefings and making sure that we talked through with some of the major politicians what was in those briefings on the key issues that we were trying to get progress on.
Then there was a whole detailed role in relation to looking at the legislation as it was going through our committee process.
And so we gave expert evidence on why they should include aviation and shipping, what they should do about international credits, why consumption reporting was important just as production emissions reporting was important.
And the crux was to get politicians to agree to a 42% target by 2020. That was really the crucial headline figure that we all wanted to see.
This was a really difficult thing in the last few days of trying to get the Act through. Until the last minute, we looked like we were going to have a target of 34% by 2020.
And in the end, we managed to persuade one of the parties to move up the target. That then lent on the other parties to increase their targets, their ambition. And finally, with a huge media push using celebrities, business figures, charity leaders across Scotland, in the weekend before the final debate, the government finally moved their target up to the 42% we'd been asking for all the time. There was a very sustained lobby. We had a rally at the Parliament here in April where we brought together a number of supporters.
We mobilised the public, we mobilised MSPs, constituents.
We brought people from all over Scotland to ask their politician how they'd voted in the morning, how they were going to vote in the afternoon, and basically demand that they voted in the right direction.
All that had an impact and showed the MSPs that there was a breadth of support across Scotland, and they could actually have to encounter not just the staff of the organisations who were lobbying them, but their constituents who really cared about the issue.
I'm Stuart Stevenson, and I was the Scottish Minister who took our climate change legislation through Parliament. And of course, the important thing is what's happened since. Has it made an impact? We've certainly seen a much wider debate on the whole issue of climate change. We've certainly seen that the public sector in particular is engaged. But fundamentally too, our two biggest energy companies have been very much at the forefront. So business too is engaged in a consensus that stretches right across Scotland. The law's making a difference, but the real hard work is now to come.
We realised that there was a need to help the Scottish Government on delivery of the Climate Change Act. 42% reduction by 2020 is clearly a stretch target, and it needs all aspects of Scottish society to work together. So it's a case of bringing people together who could make a difference and who could collaborate together to come up with plans to help the Scottish Government deliver.
I think if there's an overriding point here, it's that we produced a coalition with very little resources out of not very much really. A small number of people within one or two key groups came together, and we managed to grow it from there. It only takes a handful of people to start a process like this, and there's lots of people out there looking for leadership on this issue, positive leadership on this issue, and they will gather round and they will back what you're doing.